up, everyone? Welcome back to more Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Last time we left off, we started Chapter 4, and now we're going to be doing the first trial. We're doing both trial former and latter, but then we'll do the next part, which I'm not going to spoil in case you haven't seen it yet. Well, I haven't seen it, but I know what it is. I've actually known before I even played this game, but it doesn't matter. Good morning.
So, you're Vera, right? I'm Trucy. Trucy Wright. That's right with a W, but, not right, okay? Right? We're on your side. You can tell us anything, please. Good morning.
She speaks.
Not bad, not bad. But I think you do better with a little smile, you know? So pretty. You need to sell yourself, you know?
Trucy, let's take it easy for starters.
Thank you for taking my case.
Okay, well, that's a start, I guess. There she goes with the nail polish again.
That's great, really. It's so cultured. Want to try? Ooh, really?
Girls. Right before a court case, really? The victim, Drew Misham, was a forger, and a stolen painting was found in his studio. A life of crime, really. Maybe one that led to his death. I should probably actually do the Apollo voice. Slash Shuichi voice. Alright. Oh, yes. Oh. I love the judge's voice. Well, we'll now begin the trial of Vera Misham.
Is the judge okay? His voice is all raspy and he's looking around all nervous like,
the repercussions of today's trial will most likely be felt for a long time, and may indeed alter our legal system forever. I'm trying to do like a sick judge voice.
Today is a test of the jury system, and the first step towards a new order in our courts. Dad's secret mission. The jurors will function like a jury. It is hoped their inclusion will help the court to better reflect the people's will.
Ooh, that was some heavy lag. Why aren't there any jurors in the courtroom?
3 closed-circuit cameras watch this courtroom at all times. The jurists have access to everything that transpires.
Jurist, judge well and judge cool. Now see here, Prosecutor Gavin. I was going to say that.
My apologies, out, Judge.
Jurist, judge today's trial coolly, if you would be so kind.
The jurors are unbound by the letter of the law. They don't affect the trial with evidence, but by their feelings. We're about to find just what effect they're going to have.
Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. The details of the case, if you would.
The victim is the painter Drew Misham. He was killed in his own studio. His coffee was poisoned. By whom, you ask? By none other than the defendant, Vera Misham.
There wasn't any poison in the coffee.
Someone has been doing their homework. Indeed, poison was not present in the coffee, but on the mug itself.
The mug? Residue was found on the rim, I see.
The autopsy report describes the manner of our victim's death.
Court accepts this as evidence. God, we have so much evidence already. According to this report, the victim's death was caused by atroquinin poisoning.
A chemical compound that does not occur naturally. Lethal dosage is a mere 0.002 milligrams. A touch of atroquinin in the body is the touch of the Reaper's scythe.
Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. You may present your witness.
I have for you today a simple man for a simple case. A man who witnessed the murder in its entirety. That journalist, no doubt.
Well, hello there! Oh, the camera's not on me yet, sorry.
Shut up. The witness will state his name and occupation.
Right! Well, for starters, my name's Spark Bushel. My job is a lone observer of the world.
In other words, a freelance journalist, right?
If you don't mind, I'd like to state something here for the record. Yes, Mr. Bushel? I dislike conclusions, specifically the jumping to aspect of conclusions. Preconceptions make part sandbox of endless desert waste. End quote.
But you are a journalist. You said so yourself yesterday.
Well, that's true, yes. But you must understand, I stand before you today a man with a dream. I'm offering you my testimony in exchange for exclusive rights to the story. Scoops that turn Mr. Bushel into that Mr. Bushel, end quote. Let's hear your testimony then, shall we?
A simple case, eh, Gavin? For me, the jury is still out.
Boom! That was terrible.
How'd you hear my brain?
I visited the studio around 9 o'clock that night to do the interview. What time was the murder, actually? That's probably a good thing. Between 9 and 9:30. Okay. The first outsider to enter the atelier, journalistic history made, end quote. Sorry, I was like, what? His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. And you know what happened next? Star falls, end quote. No one else entered the room besides her the whole time. Huh. That does sound like a simple case. Unless you were the one who poisoned him. What are you saying, Judge? Need to remind you, the cameras are rolling today. I felt the need to be a bit dramatic.
You didn't do it, did you?
Me doing something like that? Come on, that's like newsmaker making the news, end quote. Or even contemporary witch hunt, end quote. I know, well, accusations rock courtroom, end quote.
Rock indeed.
Prosecutor Gavin here looks like he's having fun. I'm so happy for him. Very well, Mr. Justice, your cross-examination, please.
God, I don't know. That sounded pretty sound, but like, I don't have any evidence to be like, yo, that's wrong, and my bracelet isn't working. This is so sad.
You know what happened next? Star falls, end quote.
What's this about a star falling?
Star falls, huh? Sounds like an old telegram. Send money over.
Zhao, you don't know?
That's like a journalism code word. An important personage passes away. A star falls, get it? But there's no gravity in space, is there? I wouldn't think stars could fall, really.
Does this matter?
Oh boy, this is good stuff, good stuff. How about star breaks? Nah, lacks punch. I know. Star dies. Nah, lacks imagination. Oh, of course you go with Drew dies, straight to the point. I like it.
I think we need to hear about something a little more substantial.
The moment of death. Brush's coffee. The stars' coffee.
You say Mr. Misham had the coffee too, but did you actually see him drink the coffee?
Of course! He who sees it wins, but he who says it wins bigger. End quote. I live in a man sees dog eat dog and writes about it world, yet.
Guess
I can't say I saw him drink it, really. He had one so-called sip, if that. Man puts lips to mug. Drinks, end quote. That poison is quite virulent, I hear. My stomach did a so-called somersault. Somersault. Since I gulped down that coffee without so much as a second glance at it. Wait, maybe something's there. Some kind of so-called trick. You don't want to venture a guess, for the record?
Does this guy have a pause button?
Well, Mr. Justice, did you find that testimony valuable? Let's check it over.
The victim drank his coffee, then immediately fell over.
Oh, yes, you can go to the press with that one.
Your Honor, this is a vital piece of information. Please add to the testimony.
Except that's incorrect. Why this is testimony? Vital, right! Except that's incorrect because they don't die instantly, boy. At one tip of that, next moment he was on the floor. That's impossible because, it's a slow-acting poison. That's what I wanted.
You know what I have a problem with? A particular property of the poison used, atroquinin.
Oh, Prosecutor Gavin was quite clear about the poison. Lethal doses of 0.002 milligrams paralyzes the central nervous system. If you drank that, even you, Mr. Justice, would be reduced to a quivering pile.
Why are you using me as an example? Unfortunately, we weren't told everything. There's a vital omission in Prosecutor Gavin's information.
An omission?
Atroquinin is as virulent as he says, but death doesn't come upon ingestion, not immediately. That's because atroquinin is slow-acting.
Slow-acting? What?
According to one forensic scientist, it's one of the most virulent poisons, but is absorbed in the body astonishingly slowly. It takes at least 15 minutes from the time of ingestion for adverse effects to show. If we suppose that the moment Mr. Misham sipped the coffee was when he sealed his fate, then we would have still had time left to enjoy his last cup of joe.
Order! What's the meaning of this? If what the defense says is correct, why? That contradicts the entire testimony we've just heard.
Well, Mr. Brushel, anything to say on the record?
Slow acting. It was virulent, all right. Even then, it had already begun digging his claws into the journalist.
He's working on his scoop. It's Brushel, ja? Herr Brushel, let's take a trip back down memory lane.
Huh?
Did the victim really die the instant he took a sip? Think it over. This is vital.
You know what I think? I think that was a not-so-subliminal suggestion. End quote.
I admit it does cause a problem if he died when you say he died. I will be forced to say off witnessing to complete my case, and you will be forced to say farewell to your article.
Come again?
You can't write a story based on conjecture, can you? And the case drags on, other reporters will pick up the scent. And you'll be forced to kiss your exclusive scoop goodbye.
Scoop? Scoop? Look, wait, just wait a second, just 1 second. We're waiting, out with it. I think I just recalled a so-called important detail, a revival of recollection, end quote, a story survival, end quote.
Attorney utterly confused, end quote.
Actually, I did notice something when I visited the studio. I heard of poison that takes its sweet time, see?
But not what I've been saying for the last few minutes, apparently.
Mr. Russell, are you saying you noticed something that explains what happened? You bet I am. The antidote for a poisonous contradiction. End quote, you might say.
Or, I still have no idea what you're talking about, end quote. I might say.
I figured it out, but only after an in-depth interview. See, thanks to my journalism skills, I know who poisoned that coffee. Order! Order!
As far as I can tell, the witness is standing by his testimony that Mr. Misham died the instant after he drank.
Of course I'm standing by my testimony, and my dream of exclusive rights to this story.
Ugh, I suppose it was too much to hope for. What was? Of course he wouldn't choose a simple case, not him.
Him?
Phoenix Wright, who else? Hot tongue, Herr Brushel. Report for us if you would. What is it that you noticed?
This court is a critical trial of the juris system. I'm afraid no room for doubt is permissible. You will testify to the court about what you noticed. Oh, witness testimony. Who noticed Brushel? When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Misham was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. I thought nothing of it at the time, of course. Now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note? A suicide note? Yes, he had this look on his face. Man's face inscrutable as quadratic equation. End quote.
Suicide? Poor Mr. Misham. But that means Vera's innocent. Would someone commit suicide in the middle of an interview? Oh.
Or, well, you may begin your cross-examination. The first thing I can think of is just, like, go over to that one statement and be like, that's not a suicide note, it's a red letter. But I feel like that's, I don't know.
So he put the letter away when he saw you.
Early reporter gets worm. End quote. That's my secret.
I'm not sure I follow.
So night of the interview, I arrive 15 minutes ahead of schedule. The handle turns, the door opens, and I barge in. I chime in.
Are you sure that's okay to do? I mean, isn't that unlawful entry, really?
Mr. Misham sure seemed to think so. You should have seen him. He crammed his letter into that yellow envelope as fast as he could. I know a secret when I spot one, and that was one. It does seem significant. Well, Mr. Justice?
I wonder. It does have the ring of something important. The defense finds his testimony vital, Your Honor.
Very well. Please add to the testimony then. Hey, why not? My account comes free of charge. It was a yellow envelope. Ah. See, that's incorrect. It was a red envelope. You fool!
As it just so happens, there was a single letter in a desk drawer at the scene. In a red envelope.
What? Oh, wow, that face is creepy.
Prosecutor Gavin. Yes. Was a yellow envelope found at the scene of the crime? Unfortunately, no. But, Herr Forehead, it's easy to mistake the color of an envelope. I guess. But not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already, 7 years ago.
Well, Mr. Brushel? Oh, I can explain that. True, right? He wanted to get that letter in an envelope, pronto. Get out of sight of my beady eyes, right? So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crammed away. And what about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction, chump? Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say to the witness's claim?
That night, the victim put a letter he had been writing in a red envelope. That's impossible. Ah, I like your expression, so full of confidence. It's simple, really. As it just so happens, the defense team investigated the contents of the same envelope with the assistance of a forensic scientist. What? Note that this letter is addressed to Drew Misham.
Oh?
Why would he address a letter to himself? Let alone send a suicide note to himself.
Oh, I've been scooped!
You're such an idiot, Brushel.
Order, order, order! Mr. Brushel, can you explain this to the court? Oh my, how could I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporter gets old, forgets lots, end quote. I'm still waiting for an explanation, Mr. Brushel. Well, that's the thing, see? After he put this letter in the envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something.
His desk drawer?
Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote. A stamp? Whatever for? Well, to mail his letter, what else? And then, why yes, I think I saw him put it inside his letterbox. Yes, it was a yellow envelope, and he put it in that box. Well, apparently this yellow letter has nothing to do with this case. Oh, how I wish it did. Just think if that were a suicide note. What a story! Star writes suicide note in front of reporter, falls, end quote. Ahem, as I was saying, that has nothing to do with this case. That said,
Yes, Your Honor?
it makes me wonder about the contents of that red envelope. Are we looking this over again? Yeah. $100,000 is quite a good deal of money.
So this was from 7 years ago, yeah?
So, am I finished here? I was thinking of, going home to start writing. What's going on?
I hate to state what should be pretty obvious to anyone, but when you catch the scent of a story, you make that a rather unique face.
Come on! Attorney has active imagination, little else, end quote. Even I noticed something, and my eyes aren't what they used to be. I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is about.
Judge has active imagination,
end quote. Please continue with their testimony. Tell us about the scent of a story. Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here, usually. The scent of a story. Actually, it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up on the interview. Reporter leverage story gets his interview, unquote. The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. The red envelope probably had something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. So you threatened to go to the press with this story. That's how you got your interview? Blackmail? Well, yes. No. It wasn't exactly I'm not, Something wrong, Mr. Brushell? Look! This is my story, my tidbit. Journalist's info is livelihood, end quote. I see. Well, you have me chatting away in here. What's going on out there? What if some Wally Wordsmith or Sally Scooper gets wind of my story? They could be going to the press while I'm going to waste. The court feels your pain, Mr. Brushell. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace.
Certain case 7 years ago. Wait, 7 years ago? God dang it, everything's coming together.
Oh, I sort of had a theory. My thing's acting up. I think this case has something to do with this act of 7 years ago, but I think we're gonna find out something about Drew Misham. Something about this is fake. There's something, those drawings made it particular that he's fake.
Just how amazing was Mr. Misham's talent?
Huh? Hoo-wee, boy, hey, he's a star, man, a star! Flow of his brush is like a great undulating river across canvas. Artist paints light up studio like sun, end quote.
This guy's full of wacky gestures, but that one just now was wackier than usual. Looks kinda nervous to me, Apollo. Definitely. I'm sensing something different than before here. Maybe it's time to bring out you-know-what. That testimony of bad.
Alright, so it has to do with that one, it seems. I guess I'll look for it. I don't know, I was trying to look around, but I didn't see anything. Maybe something new will appear now. Yes, I do. I think it's the fact that he had stolen art, but I don't know what I'm looking for here. Right there, yeah. Gotcha! Wow, that was a very obscure one.
Sweet sweat much, Mr. Brushell?
Yeah, well, a man can't help his glands, you know?
It's more than that. When Mr. Misham's talent was mentioned, you suddenly began to sweat buckets. You're hiding something about his talent.
What? That's ridiculous.
Evidence time. Let's show where Mr. Misham's true talent lay. Just so happens I have evidence showing the talent mentioned in that letter. Wrong page. I think it's the hidden painting. Bet. This painting was found in Mr. Misham's studio. There are two problems with this painting. The first is it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. The second is that there was another painting in the studio, which looked exactly like this one, except it was only done half done. Then we have a letter discussing a payment of $100,000, which suggests a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries.
Got him. He just like explodes on the spot.
That is all, Your Honor.
Everyone, please, everyone! Can we keep this private, please? This is my story, my scoop! Forgery. That's a serious crime. Drew Mesham is known as an artist these days, but there were rumors he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back. Another art? Meaning forgery? Drew Mesham was talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. A fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover.
Criminal elements? What? You can't seriously be talking about...
Exactly. I'm talking about forging evidence. The rumor started circulating 7 years ago. 7 years ago? So, we understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for... Exactly. Forged evidence nets tidy profit, end quote. Order, order, order! Why, it's like our victim was living a double life.
Aha! This is my chance. So the victim had ties to the criminal world, right? He could have had plenty of enemies we know nothing about. This is my first time hearing of this criminal world. We certainly found no criminal connections when we conducted our investigation. But how do you explain all this money? You have to admit there's a possibility of some illegal activity here. But there is no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was and remains simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course.
Hey, the only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing interviews. Mr. Russell, your testimony at this point has been quite unreliable. It doesn't speak well of your reporting acumen. What are you talking about? My journalism is rock solid. Journalism so solid you can stand an elephant on it, end quote. In any case, let's hear a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation in that studio from the recap, the trial is over.
Apollo, what's he talking about? Cross-examination showed Mr. Brushell didn't have reason or means to poison him. As long as there's no other suspects, then the killer had to be Vera, that's what. The next testimony is our last chance.
Mr. Brushell, your testimony, please. Witness testimony. The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She admitted as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. Nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the one who could have poisoned him was his daughter.
A nice testimony. Clear, succinct, and without room for doubt.
Aw, shucks. You really think so? I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice. You may begin your final cross-examination.
Right. I still have one trump card left to play, and I won't let this trial end until I use it.
What's that trump card? Oh, well... I have a couple of trump cards, actually.
Oh, I was being a fool. The yellow letter, of course, because it's not in the letterbox.
There we go.
This is the only link between that studio and the outside world.
A letterbox?
What did Mr. Brushell just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter.
Yeah, I said that, and yeah, it was true.
Furthermore, he went on to tell us that he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox.
Ah.
But that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night, the yellow envelope disappeared. Ah, yes, intriguing. So one envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing. Huh?
He has a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Misham. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared?
Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. That seems very important to me.
Very well then, the witness will add this to his testimony. You got it!
I still think this fails to change anything, Air Forehead. I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappearing from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for. It's put in the post from the studio, but I hardly think that matters. You're sure about that?
Well, to be really precise, I was busily gobbling mint candies the whole time.
One of those candies might have been poisoned. Yet at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrance of mint filled the room, and no mint residue was found. It was a long shot anyway. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than the coffee.
Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof...
Possibility is there, I can feel it.
Just maybe not prove it yet. Possibility isn't gonna cut it, not now. Mr. Misham ingested that poison via a route other than the coffee. Proof is possible. Here goes nothing.
You don't understand what we need, yeah? Proof, fair forehead, not possibilities.
Of course. And Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof.
What did you say?
I have proof of the disappearing envelope. I saw him writing a letter, I did! Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume.
Of course, which means
that envelope had a stamp on it. A stamp? Ah!
As we all know, stamps come with dried glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it by licking the stamp. No one worth talking to actually licks stamps in this day and age. Even if you want to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all. Okay, so he licked the stamp. But wait, how does that explain the atropine on the rim of the coffee mug? If he licked the back of a poisoned stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes? What would then happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth, Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing, it was the other way around.
What?
The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Misham. Mr. Misham poisoned the coffee mug himself!
Order! 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 Well, that does it?
Recall, if you would, atropine is a slow-acting poison, yes? The poison enters his body when you put the stamp on that envelope, but his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lip to that cup of joe.
Wow, that makes sense. Don't you dare object, I swear to God. Oh, no, he's just writing. Okay, cool. Oh, no. You have something to add, Mr. Bushel?
Uh-oh, his nose is picking up another scent.
I believe I mentioned it earlier. Well, that's the thing. See, after he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote. But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one. Maybe he just run out?
Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps, not a single one.
That does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated with poison?
Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. It makes proving the stamp he used was poison possible. Good show, good show. You can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene in the first place.
Well, let's hear what the defense has to say anyway. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of this poison stamp?
Well, you see, Your Honor, it's quite easy. The fact that there was poison on this picture.
Well, that certainly is a cute little frame, and by little, I mean really little.
It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Desk, not death. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I noticed that too during my inspection. So what? Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important.
Missing something?
Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Atropine residue. What? Why wasn't I told about this? The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller, maybe an inch wide at most. You aren't saying... Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps?
Order! 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 The poison stamp was in this frame?
Impossible.
Prosecutor Gavin.
Why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood struck.
You know, can I say something? I had a thought, see? What, Mr. Marshall? And please stop jittering aloud like that. The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too, end quote.
So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him. Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights and fancy to the governor's song lyrics, please. Finally, something we agree on. The stamp was a murder weapon? Nonsense! Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one. Oh, I disagree. Come again. Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. True Misham hid from the world. He avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail.
The mail?
Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but you read letters,
A stamp would be the perfect weapon. Ridiculous! Where's your proof? I want proof! Show us evidence that this poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon. I might not have evidence, per se, but things are finally starting to come together.
What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling.
I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Misham was killed. Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice. A certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you how someone with the intent to kill sent Mr. Misham the stamp of death. The red envelope? Isn't this the envelope, the one from 7 years ago? Think about the text of this letter again. Are we really... Oh, okay. I was like, don't make me read this again. There are 2 pages in the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor. Ah! But in other words, if I have this straight, the stamp, poison on the stamp, lick, lick, gasp, end quote. Now, what if he had done exactly as the letter asked? He'd sign the document, put it in the envelope, and put the stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in his letterbox. 15 minutes wouldn't have elapsed before fixing the stamp and mailing the letter. But the clock started ticking, and when the time came, he drew his last breath, and the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene. Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system.
Such a splendid imagination you have there, Forehead. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So, this poison stamp was inside this envelope from 7 years ago, yeah? Is that what you have us believe? Really? Well, it's a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility. Yes, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? A poison stamp in this envelope, a stamp that then became the murder weapon. How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence? Well, it was 7 years ago and we don't even know who sent that letter. And your answer is silence. I see. Very well, I move to...
It's not nice to pick on the Fraulein, Clavier. I knew it. I thought he would be showing up. What the?
Emma.
Well? Oh.
Like my Christoph Gavin impression? Did I sound like him?
Don't quit your day job.
Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, Fraulein detective? Someone had to come dig you all out of the mess you're making in this case.
Mess?
You know, none of this would happen if you just trusted in science a little more.
You can find out if that stamp was in that envelope easy.
Can you explain yourself, Fraulein detective? Clear me all you want, but science is on my side. It's all in the residue, right?
That's right! The poison detection spray. Produce the envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court. Spray detergent reaction. Aha! We found it. Well, would you look at that?
No mistaking it. That's ash quinine residue.
Oh, I don't believe it. A murder weapon from the past. Now, 7 years later, it bears its fangs at last.
Absolutely outrageous! Tell me why! Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago?
Well,
there's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Misham figured it out.
Figured out what?
He realized that the person who sent that letter wanted him dead. So he sent his reply with a different stamp.
And put his decisive evidence in a frame? Hold it! Oh, you're still here. Can I make a statement here, on the record? I, Spark, Razor Tooth Brushel, claim this scoop is mine. Drew Misham killed in cold blood by sender of 7-year-old letter, end quote. No, maybe something more succinct. Star falls after 7-year delay, end quote. Order, order, order! I see no room for further argument here. Though I admit, this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp his ticket straight to afterlife, end quote.
I think the witness is a bad influence on our judge.
I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of that letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant.
Apollo!
I think we just won. Very well. This court finds the defendant. God dang it. Why, Gavin?
Is this the bright future of our legal system?
Prosecutor Gavin?
The ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago? Tickets for Gaviner shows are invalid after 2 weeks.
But it doesn't make sense any other way.
It boggles my mind that so many people haven't noticed this. There's a fatal contradiction in our forehead's claim.
A contradiction?
A poisoned stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago, whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would Mr. Drew have done what he did?
Emma explained that. He must have realized he was poisoned.
Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Miss Ham sensed the trap and put the stamp in a frame. I do not debate this, but this begs the question. Why, 7 years later, did he use that stamp on the night of the murder? Surely you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Miss Ham simply forgot? He put the murder weapon on a frame on his desk for 7 years and forgot.
You expect us to believe he sprang the trap on himself?
Well, that didn't go according to plan.
Well, I admit, this is all quite shocking myself. It does seem highly unlikely that he would fall a fool of a trap that had been sitting on his desk for 7 years.
Apollo? I don't think we're winning anymore. I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to reality. We've been waiting for you.
Okay, then how do you explain the poison stamp that was in this envelope?
The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to court for us? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed.
What about the atroquinin residue, huh?
Oh, I agree. That does seem to be atroquinin residue. But their forehead. It's certainly no stamp.
Yeah, but
even if your precious poison stamp did exist, Drew Miss Ham never would have used it. That is all.
I believe we've come to a conclusion. Again.
Paul, were we wrong the whole time? I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be coincidence.
I'd like to bring some closure to this issue sometime this year. Mr. Justice?
Yes, Your Honor?
Let's review the facts and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Drew Miss Ham received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atroquinin on the document inside that envelope. A similar trace was also found at the crime scene on this tiny picture frame. The defense has indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope, an envelope that left the scene of the crime with the poison stamp on it.
Yes, but even if this envelope contained a poison stamp, and Drew Miss Ham, knowing this, put it in a frame, he never would have used that stamp.
I'm afraid you're right, which means there is a fatal flaw in the defense's case.
I've been on the wrong track this whole time. I'm sure of it. The traces of atroquinin, the envelope, the frame, and Drew Miss Ham's mysterious death. They're all connected somehow.
Well, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion for us?
The defense stands by its case, Your Honor. We've seen the logical outcome of the evidence make no sense, which means that one of our clues must be a fake. A fake clue. Fascinating. And if we find this fake, your wild fantasies will prove quite reasonable, Cha. The fake clue that's thrown us off all the poison trail is none other than...
I'm scared. The victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand.
I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself. Congratulations, you've completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger. It makes a good story, I'll give you that.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I was scared to pick it.
The fake clue, fakes, forgeries. I know that face. That's the I just had an idea face. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it anyways. What if our forger is the fake? Come again? 7 years ago, our forger sniffed a trap and stepped aside. 7 years passed. Now the forger stumbles into that very same trap and dies. Why?
That's what I want to know.
Because the forger who was killed was a fake.
Did I call this by accident? I didn't mean it this way, but I kind of did.
Here we go again. The victim was a fake. One forger smelled the trap. One forger fell into the trap. That's 2 forgers, and one of them was a fake.
Order! Order! Order!
So you are telling us that the victim, Drew Miss Ham, was a fake? Well, if he was the fake, who's the real forger? He better not be claiming there was some kind of switcheroo.
I'm afraid you're gonna have to back up your story. Mr. Justice, show us just who the real Drew Miss Ham was.
Drew Miss Ham wasn't the real forger. There's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honor.
Forger Drew Misham was himself a forgery. The real forger was Vera. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. There can only be one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Misham is none other than his only daughter, Vera Misham. Order! 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 Mr. Justice, this is going out on a limb, even for you.
I kinda agree. I mean, Vera, a forger?
Let's consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery had been taking place in that studio for quite some time. The forger wasn't caught in that trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger. Well, actually, that does make a certain kind of sense. One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints were found in the forger's studio. Drew Misham's and Vera Misham's. If we know that Drew Misham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility by process of elimination. The forger was Vera Misham. Well, fascinating. Ooh, he didn't say no. Vera Misham, you've been paying attention to the trial so far.
Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger, Drew Misham?
Was that an expression of emotion I saw on her face? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin's face.
I'm used to being stared at by Frauleins, believe me, though they usually talk to me too. Tell us, were you the one who forged those works of art? Yes.
So the forger Drew Misham was you?
Yes, it was me.
What? Don't you dare. The court was in an uproar, and it wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess. Woo! We're an hour into this, and I'm only on the first part of the trial. God dang it. These are taking so much longer than the first one we did. Oh well. We're doing the whole thing. Who even cares? October 8th, 1:24 p.m. God, these trials take a long time in the real world. Or I guess I mean like in the game world. You know what I mean.
Okay, so where exactly does this leave us, Apollo?
Well, Drew Misham was killed. It wasn't Drew Misham the forger, basically.
Huh? Well then who was he?
Well, he was actually doing her nails. So, you really made those forgeries?
Yes, for Father. I know it was wrong. Could you tell us how it happened? My father was a painter. I loved painting ever since I was a child. One day, Father saw it in me. He saw that I had the talent.
The talent for making forgeries?
How should I say it? It was not only paintings I made. Given the materials, I could make anything.
Anything?
Father was so proud, and I so happy. But, in the end, I was making those
forgeries.
I've never had a good constitution, nor personality. I know very little of the world outside my door. Now, because of me, Father is... You know about this red envelope? I remember that envelope. It was some time ago.
So you were already creating your works back then?
I started when I was only 12 years old.
So the one who figured out that stamp was poisoned, that was... Mr. Justice, it's time. The courtroom, please. Right. Out of time.
Wait, Vera, just one more thing, please. Those 3 paintings in the studio. I painted those as part of my work. Right. See, we checked them out, and we saw what was underneath. We saw the rough sketches underneath the 3 finished paintings. I see. Mr. Justice.
Yes?
Father, he knew of you. Of both of you.
Your late father?
He was watching, gathering information. All about the Wright & Co. law offices. But lately we're not doing just law. Yes, you do tricks, gags to amuse, and play piano. Well, they're not really gags. Yet when Father heard you had resumed the legal business, how pleased he was. Who was Mr. Misham? How am I supposed to know? What if he was Dad's dad? Judging from the relative ages involved, I'd say it's highly unlikely. Things are already confusing enough with all these dads running around. We know the victim's daughter, Vera, was the forger. What does this mean for the case? Guess we're about to find out.
Oh boy, this is quite the interesting trial, I gotta say. Court's now back in session.
Vera seems pretty tense. She's practically chewing her fingernails clean off. Perhaps you could begin by telling us how it's all worked. How did you set up this Drew Misham forger persona? There's that stare again. She's drilling more holes into his head. I know it's hard for you, but hey, he's a handsome guy. What's hard?
Very well, miss, if you would. Did you really make those detestable forgeries?
Perhaps you'd rather answer my question. Were you the one who painted that painting? The remarkably similar one? Ah, yes. I painted it, yes. Father praised me quite highly for it.
So, she was the one who made the forgeries.
And she did not wish to reveal the truth of their operation. So the victim was a stand-in, a decoy. To the world at large, he was the forger, not her. I've done a bad thing. I have, haven't I? Regardless, we need a little more information. About, for instance, this. You've seen this before, Ja? Yes, it was in the desk drawer.
Very well, you may proceed with your testimony. Tell us everything you know about this envelope. The red envelope. The red.
I created things and Father sold them. This envelope came after my first work. That was other than a painting. Father handled the deal, handled all of it. I received the stamp that was in that envelope. It was after that job that we moved to the current studio.
There certainly was much of great interest in your testimony.
Not that the witness realizes it.
Very well, please begin the cross-examination.
Right, okay. I need more information about this forger, this Drew Misham. So these things that you were making, you mean paintings identical to other paintings, right? The closer they were, the happier Father was. I was happy too.
Still, you're quite young now. When did you begin this work?
My first painting sold when I was 12. Your Honor, she had no idea what she was doing was illegal. Easy there, little attorney. You're not here to defend her for the crime of forgery.
True. Please, tell us more about this envelope. This envelope may very well have killed your father.
All right. So, you didn't know how the things you were making were being used? I enjoy painting very much. I think I understand. The Fraulein has lived in an unusual little world. He tells what happened in the papers that were in this envelope. Father signed them and sent them back, I believe. Did he follow the instructions? Send in the enclosed envelope, the enclosed stamp?
This is a rather important matter. Give your answer some thought.
What do you mean you received it? Did I do something wrong? You didn't use that stamp because it was dangerous, correct? Deadly poison on the back, atroquinin. A moment, dear forehead. You can't force an answer upon the witness. Now then, perhaps you would tell me, Fraulein Vera, why did you receive this stamp?
Is something wrong?
It was beautiful.
Ah, you mean it was one of those commemorative stamps?
Yes, I think it was.
So, you didn't know about the poison? I guess not.
So the trap failed by chance, by mistake, thanks to this commemorative stamp.
Quite a close call.
You mean you moved to where the current Drew studio is? Yes, we saw very few people there. I began drawing picture books. A single job had tied them to the criminal underworld. I think Mr. Misham wished to reduce their visibility in the world at large. We had to meet someone for some reason. Father posed as the creator of the work.
So that was the real essence of the artist Drew Misham. You did the work and he supplied the face. This red envelope came after she completed her first job. It makes it a letter from her client, whoever wanted a forgery made.
Apollo!
We're close. We just have to piece together the parts. A deadly weapon in a red envelope, and the path it took to take Mr. Drewham's life.
By other than a painting, you mean
you'd only done paintings up to that point?
Yes, but Father had a realization. He noticed my talent extended to making things other than paintings.
For instance,
a letter someone had written, or a fingerprint left upon a cup, or a signature on a document, a seal upon a letter.
Well, this makes her sound very innocent at all. And the $100,000 promised in this letter was a start. The beginning of a new industry for Drew Misham. A new industry?
The creation of items to be used in criminal proceedings.
Forging evidence, in other words. Uh-oh. So, you really didn't know anything, did you? You had no idea how much danger you were in.
Apparently not. About this commemorative stamp, could you tell us more about it? It was very pretty, and more than that.
Yes?
It was a picture of people I liked at the time.
This is something new.
Was it the Governors? I'm sure it was, wasn't it? Apparently, we've got some cross-examination yet ahead of us. If you'll be so kind as to continue your testimony, Fraulein. The stamp was a picture of my favorite magicians, so I kept it.
Objection! Those magicians you liked. Was it this bunch?
Apollo, they're not a bunch.
I see. Still, I have to wonder, why include a commemorative stamp like that in a business letter? Good question.
Well, pretty stamps are always better, and you can't beat true grammar.
Well, the whole murder plan was a failure because of it. Ironic, don't you think? Prosecutor Gavin? Uh-oh. Prosecutor Gavin?
Grammar. What's with Gavin? Might I just ask one question of this witness? In your testimony just now, you stated this was your first work that was other than a painting.
Oh! It was for the case 7 years ago. I'm dumb, why didn't I think of that?
Please, tell me, what exactly did you make?
Can I ask what? No! Answer the question, now! Prosecutor Gavin, you're usually not the one whose volume concerns me.
It is unbecoming of me. I apologize, but I must know. Please, Miss Misham, tell me. It was a book. A single page in a book.
A book? Please be more specific.
It was a handwritten book. Like a diary.
No! I don't! No! That was the evidence he used to seal the fate 7 years ago, wasn't he? And it was fake.
What's wrong with Prosecutor Gavin? He looks like he just saw a ghost. Miss Misham, this book. Was there a picture of a silk hat on the back cover? Yes or no? How do you know?
Prosecutor Gavin, the defendant is answering all of your questions. Stop badgering her.
He's told you nothing, has he? Your soiled, sullied mentor. Nothing! Sullied? Who? Phoenix Wright. Who else? Dad? He never told you about the trial 7 years ago? About how he came to lose his attorney's badge? It was a certain piece of evidence that decided his fate, you know. A certain diary. On the back it bore the mark of a seal cat. What? Phoenix Wright, tossed out of profession by false evidence, and the forger made that evidence. Is this girl standing right in front of me? Vera, you must tell us. The evidence you made was used in a trial 7 years ago. Who asked Drew Misham, you, to forge that evidence? For all of our sakes, who was it? It was Miles Edgeworth. Can you imagine? We only met once. You met the client? Well, who was it? It was... Uh-oh. What's going on with Vera? She's staring at Prosecutor Gavin's face again. Yes, what? Is there something about me? I remember clearly. I remember who gave me the book, the diary. Who was it? I'm gonna say it was him, right? Vera! Oh. Are we in a simulation? The devil. So she was looking at him because it was Kristoff who did it. What? Defendant Vera Misham. Condition: unconscious. Examiner's diagnosis: acute atrial. What? What? This ends the recording of the trial for the murder of Drew Misham. Vera Misham was during the trial poisoned by an unknown assailant. The doses were just under the lethal amount, sparing the defendant's life. She's currently in intensive care and is not to be disturbed for any reason. A very simple case at first glance, until it finally began to show its true colors. The long road to the truth takes us to the record of another trial. Oh, yo, it's me! In some ways, that was the starting point of it all. It is a young me. And that is where we must go. Oh, it's a small me. To find the whole truth. And true see. Oh wow, that was a short part. Oh, what the heck is going on, dude? So that was a recording? So what's going on? Are we... No, stop. Nope, Xing out, nope. We'll watch that next time, sorry. So what's going on? I'm so confused, like, what? Are we in a virtual reality? Because we saw that at the beginning. Or... Okay. So, Kristoff is obviously the one who asked for that forged evidence, right? So... I don't know. I'm so confused. I am so confused. But I guess I'm going to have to end this episode here for now. Next time we'll be traveling back to the past, as you can see. And thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you're as confused as I am. And if you played this game, well, don't spoil it. But yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Peace out!